I had a strange assortment of subjects that I was interested in, sort of maths, physics and art, geography. So it was spanned between the sciences and the arts and architecture. One of my teachers actually sort of suggested that I should maybe look at architecture, and it started from there. And then I came back to Derry, and when I was 17, and I got a job with A.T. Marshall, who was an architect in Derry at that time. And I worked for him for just over a year, and then went to college. And then I came back here during the holidays, and I worked for Liam. So that's how the connection with Liam arose. And I worked with Liam for about 2 years. Around about the time that this was built, but I didn't have any actual direct connection with Creeslough Chapel. But obviously it was in the office at the time I was working. I mean, he had a whole range of really interesting projects. A lot of churches. He did a lot of design-orientated buildings. He was very passionate and interested about architecture, which came through the whole office. It was a design-orientated office. So from that point of view, it was very interesting. He had a great passion for Le Corbusier and Alto, which was unusual in this part of the world, to get somebody with, sort of international interests. And he spent a lot of time in France. He had a barge in France for a while, and spent holidays in France and visited. I think he visited Ronchon, in which is where the inspiration, I think, from some of the aspects of Creeslough came from. If you look at Ronchon, it has very similar aspects to the design part of the project. So, well, the story was that when he got the commission, he drove obviously back and down to visit the client, and a very strong image, if you drive down the road from Derry to Creeslough, is Muckish and the outline of Muckish, and that's where he said that I think he got the inspiration. And then, of course, when he saw the site, Muckish is very dominant on the site as well. So that influence, along with the Le Corbusier influence and Ronchon, and I think he wanted to do something like that, and the form suited the way that he wanted to capture Muckish.
Canon Doherty was the man who built this church 50 years ago. And he was a man who obviously, at a time when there wasn't much in terms of finance, he was a man who was able to obviously make the most of the talents that God gave him. He was an entertainer. He was a producer of films. We have his footage to this day.
The night that I was driven here, or at least I contacted my cooperator there, Father Conahan. He's here somewhere. I hope he didn't go home without me. He said, here, he is. Well, he's here, and there are McGinley's here too, and they're from Creeslough, and you might have seen on the little film, Cutting the Corn, did you? So we'll all join in cutting the corn in Creeslough, won't you? We'll end up with that. Is that all right, Canon?
To fund this vision and this enterprise meant something had to be done, and Canon Doherty came up with the wonderful idea of going on a tour of America to fundraise. And he met up with Dan McTighe from Letterkenny, Maureen Hegarty from Derry, and Joe McGlinchey from Letterkenny. And when Canon Doherty had done his piece, they came in and acted as a supporting cast.
Well, we used to sing at a lot of concerts together all over Donegal, and they probably realised that they need some money to help the building of the car. So he had some friends in America, and they invited him to come to America, and they said if he would come, that they would arrange the concerts. And we were there actually for 3 weeks, and we're nearly singing nearly every night of the week in America. This new church that was built in Creeslough, and they probably knew that it would need money, and at that time there was a terrible lot of immigrants in America, and there was maybe a lot of ones from Creeslough and places like Donegal in America, and they knew about that, and they naturally thought, well, we'll try and help it out too here and organise something to help out Father Tommy. Mostly Donegal people, and so they would know all the stories, and he showed all these films that he had of Donegal, of the different parts of Donegal, and as well as that, he would tell all these funny stories as part of the show.
Did the films go down with them?
Oh, they went down well, because they'd have seen some of the old films that they might have had old relations in the films, you know. He used to go to these big occasions and film them as well as that. And I had some very historical films of Donegal at that time. And then as well as that, he had films of getting the ground ready for the building of the church in Creeslough, and all the workmen getting the ground ready for the start of the building, and he had films all of that as well too. He told us at the time, after his expenses were paid and all that, they made something like $10,000, but the dollar at that time wasn't as much as it is today. I think he used to get $3 for a pound.
Right.
So, but it was still not a lot of money. You know, I think their total amount of the cost of the church in Creeslough was something like £58,000 or £62,000. So it's a bit of a help to it, you know.
My first job here, I dug test holes over there for the parochial house. When they were talking about building the house there, I'd dig test holes to see what the ground was like, you know. Haggerty had his own men, like, and me and Seamus Dory and the Fanad and Sean Doherty a Fanad, we had the plastering of it, of the chapel here. Yeah. Vincent Greer was at the building of it, you know. He's done a bit of the block work, you know. So he'll be here at an earlier stage, you know, than me, like, you know. The block work started, there was about a 3-foot cavity in the bottom, and then it sloped on this and came up. As the building came up, it closed, and you know, I started off about 3 foot wide. There wasn't much safety at that time, was there? Me and Seamus dashed outside of it, and Sean Doherty was plastering in front of us, you know, and me and him, we dashed it. There were many sore knuckle, and there were some outputs, and there weren't all prayers now. The dome, they're plastering that dome, I plastered that dome. I done it in the evenings when the men would all be gone in the evenings, and I used to come up here and after hours, and I would do bits of that dome, and I got it plastered, you know. That's very high, you know, yeah. There was more peace, and on the evenings there was nobody about, and you had more peace to work at it, you know. And now, especially when all the men was gone, you know, the workmen will be all about here, about the floor, and you couldn't really work on it, you know, the droppings. And
was that the trickiest part of it all?
it was, yeah. That and there's wee wonders there. There's wee wonders there on the side. They were very tricky to get plastered. These slabs on the floor, these was all specially made slabs, and they all came numbered, you know, and they were all laid out before they came here at all, and they were all they came in. Each one was numbered, and so they knew what spot it was in, you know.
Tell us first how long you've been in the choir.
About 68 years.
68 years.
Well, I joined about 12, I suppose, and I'm 81 now. What is that? 69. 69 now. That was Father Diney's idea. And then Kathleen McGrath used to come there on holidays, you see. So then he announced, or maybe it was through the school or something, got us to come to a choir practice. And that's how it started off. Well, at the time, like I was quite happy. There were galleries on at that time, you know. We went up what they called the choir gallery. You know, the choir went up there to sing, and there was no organist. I think in the years gone by, the Muscahoons and Creeslough must have played the organ, but they were not in my time. But I remember we used to go up there to sing at what they call the old gallery. And that's where we'd go up a lot of stairs. And it was a beautiful day. I remember that very well. A lovely day. Miss McGrath brought us together and we had a few choir practices. And that's what happened. We had no organist now that day, in case I forget to tell you. And there was some man came in, and I'll never know from this day who he was, but I'm thinking he might have been something, maybe it was some friend of the architect or some outsider, and he came in to sing along with us. Well, we had to be in good time or we'd get told off. I didn't stand speaking to everyone outside that day, I came on. Well, I suppose in a way there was a big crowd, and then give more room for the people, you know. So we stayed put, as I say. It would be all the older hymns that time, I suppose, you know. I don't think that time we were singing How Great Thou Art, or not here, maybe in other places, big places they might be singing, but we didn't. It must have been maybe The Lord is My Shepherd and ones like that. And Holy God, we praise thy name. And the older, I would think, you know, I would think so. Gloria, Gloria, in excelsis Deo. Gloria, Gloria, in excelsis Deo.
In the 4 years I have been in Creeslough, I have met many people, many architects from the island of Ireland and from the United Kingdom who come into this church, and also students from universities such as Oxford to view this church, to appreciate the wonders of the architecture of this church. More importantly to me, however, is that this church serves as a living church in this community, where the community gathers to celebrate their faith. This church, as far as I am concerned, is a gem of architectural importance, not only in this diocese of Raphoe, but in the country.
It really is an amazing piece of architecture to do in this part of the world. And get built. So I would say it's certainly one of his better churches. I've seen most of them, and there are some really good ones, but this one is the most, I think, the most fluid and sculptural, and it is probably one of the most original.